Hi, and welcome to Danny After Dark. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Tonight is an Ask Me Anything True Crime Edition. I have not done one of these, I think, in over a year. And I have so many questions that I get messaged, and I figured this would be the best place to kind of answer those a little bit more in depth, and especially because some of the messages that I get with questions are some of the same questions. So clearly y'all want to know some stuff. We will talk about it. So I compiled my list of questions, but as the live is going on, if there's any questions that you guys have, please put them in the chat. Mr. Beckham will be joining. He is, I would say, fashionably late, but I don't want to lie to you guys. I'm just hoping when he does show up that he actually has a new candle lit, because this whole going live with me last week with no candle in his new place, talk about getting a lot of flack. People expect a certain level of professionalism, and he did not deliver. So my apologies. Anyway, yeah, let's hang out and just talk true crime, whatever questions you guys have, and we'll go from there. I did ask Paul to join, but Paul is I'm on summer break. Yeah, okay. With that being said, there was some Paul questions, so if he's not here to answer them, I'll just answer it for him. So, sorry, Paul, you should have been here. Anyway, let's see who's here. James Watson, hello. Oh, God, you're already going to be trouble. I already know it. Hey, Kane, welcome. Good to see you. We have a question to ask her. Oh, Ella coming in hot right off the bat. Okay, give me a second. Hey, Capone, we need the Creeple King. Right? Like, Beckham, I don't even want to know how many candles that man owns. I love me a good candle. Don't get me wrong. When Yankee Candle has their, semi-clearance sale, or Bath and Body Works does, and you can get some great candles for on sale, I'm all for it. But no, I think Beckham, I don't know. It's weird. But you know what? It's his thing. Hey, Nick. Oh, God, why are you laughing? I'm nervous. Would you rather be eaten by a shark or a tiger? Oh, all right. Well, one second, Capone. 1 second. Oh, my God. Is kill all three an option? I don't know. Hey, Wolf. Good to see you. Liz. I'm on break from rehearsal and got the notification. Hey, Liz. Liz was actually asked about her in one of the questions, so I will get to it, but she can't hear me right now, so she doesn't know. Hey, Chris James. Hey, K-Dog. I think everybody else can hear, so it might just be you, Chris James. Double check. Hey, Dudaman. Welcome. Hey, Renee. Good to see you. All right, let's see I don't want too much time to pass and I just kind of want to answer these questions on the fly. Even the ones I have in here that I got, I legit put them in a document and didn't think about the answer, because I don't want pre-rehearsed answers for anything. I just want whatever comes to mind. I think that's the most organic. So marry, fuck, kill questions, serial killers. That's a hard one, because, yeah. Ella. Oh, man, you're throwing me off my game. Mary, it would have to be, okay, God, it's that disgusts me. Mary, I would have to say a killer where I'm not his type of victim, because then I'm safe. Oh, God, I can't think of one offhand. No, you know what? Okay. All right. I'm going to go with Mary. Okay, I'm in the middle of reading this book. I actually I got this at CrimeCon, and I know there's still some debate. It's about the West Memphis 3. So that's like fresh in my mind. I'm going to go off of this because if you believe that they're innocent, then if I answer Mary, then I'm not really marrying a killer because, yes, convicted, but then no longer in jail because of the Alford plea. So I'll go marry Damien Eccles. Oh, God. I mean, kill. They're just... Who do I have an issue with right now? Oh, Brian Walsh. No. I revised that. Oh my God, this is so hard. Adam Montgomery. Kill Adam Montgomery after what he did to his daughter Harmony. No. So what's left? Shag. Oh God, I'm so bad at this. I don't know. I'm so sorry, Ella. I answered 2 out of 3. I think that's the most I can give you right now. If something pops in my head, I'll let you know. Oh man, that's a tough one. Oh, tiger. Yeah, that's easy. Oh, that will just make me sick. Let's see. Richard Ramirez had nice cheekbones. You know what's funny? I was listening to, oh God, was it Red Handed podcast? And I was listening to back episodes, and they did an episode on Richard Chase, the vampire Sacramento. And Suruthi Bala, one of the co-hosts, said, like, looking back at like his old photos of Richard Chase's, like when he was back in high school, like he was actually attractive. But of course, what we see in the media is once they're caught. So I was like, okay, let me look. I mean, not my type, but I could see where someone could be like, that's an attractive person. But Richard Ramirez, no. Volume's a little low. Let me put mine up a little bit and see if that works. Well, look who decided to join.
Am I live?
Yeah.
Oh, oh my God.
Oh God. Is that okay? Do we have a candle? Is that a candle in the back?
You can't tell?
It's pretty far. Well, you know what? I'm glad because people were appalled last episode that there was no candle. So, how you doing, Beckham?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. You weren't missing much. I was just saying hi to everybody. Some people had a couple of questions in the chat. Yeah, like Ella said, we need the creepy candle in the background for you. Ella completely.
Wait, I just saw the title of the show. I thought this was going to be a chill. It's an Ask Me Anything show.
This is what I deal with. Yes. We talked about this.
Man, I've had 101 things going on, so I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Just, you know what? When in doubt, just sit there and look pretty. Yeah, Ella asked me basically like the Mary kill serial killers, and I got completely stumped. I answered 2 out of 3 as best I could, but like, oh, that was a tough one.
Has anybody asked the obvious question?
What's the obvious question? What scent you're burning?
Besides that, but the incompetence of the experts in the
Oh, there's a Cameron Reed question.
Yeah. Oh,
You
already answered it?
No, I haven't got to the list.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, there's a list.
There's a list. I get messaged and I make note of it. Like, I answer people's questions, but I make a note of it if it's like, okay, several people are asking the same thing.
Okay, I got you.
Save that. Yeah. But there's a Cameron Reed question. Are you kidding me? Hey, Adriel. Well, thank you. I think I failed, but thank you, Ella. Let's see. K-Dog. In your earlier days, did you like the bookworm or the bad boy? Well, it's definitely a Beckham question. No, I'm just kidding. In my earlier days, I didn't No, honestly, in my earlier days, I was really into, back then it was WWF wrestling. Now it's WWE. I was a wicked tomboy.
No, like what age is he asking
Wicked.
about? College age?
Well, I was into
High
wrestling in like
school?
late middle school, all high
He
school.
got married at like 20 years old.
Oh God. Um, so I would say I was into like wrestling guys, like, because that's like, yeah, I had guy friends and we'd go to all the wrestling events and like pay all that extra money for tickets like on eBay and like sit like second row. I was like into wrestling guys. Yeah. So neither. Kane wants to admit most interesting serial killer. Good question. I would say off the top of my head, Israel Keys. Answer that because he was not your average type of killer. He was so methodical and planned out to the point where he would put these like caches, bury them in different states and different places. And sometimes they would remain there for like over 10 years before he would actually go and commit a crime. In the end, I feel like he just got sloppy and got caught. But for a while, it was just a level of planning that you don't typically see, because typically you find these individuals very lacking of self-control because they want to get the means to their end completed. And with him, it was very different. So that was just very interesting to me. And ultimately he was executed. So I don't think we're going to get a lot of answers that we want. What about you, Beckham? Who's the most interesting serial killer to you?
The dentist guy from Chicago, the most notorious or whatever, the one with the one with the highest body count in
Um,
history.
oh
The
my
guy
God,
from Chicago.
the World Fair.
Yeah, that guy.
Oh my God, I'm like
So it was
picturing.
hard. What it was that it was in the early 21st century, and um, we were still not a. We hadn't started a. We hadn't started
H.H.
a.
Holmes.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. We hadn't started a documenting people system yet. IDs, social security numbers, all that kind of thing. So anybody could come. They were coming, around what Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
Lake Michigan, right? They were coming around or whatever, whether it was immigrants or just people moving into the area. I saw a whole documentary on it, and I was like, wow, this guy was really like, you know. So it was kind of like a hotel slash, like he was was he a dentist or a doctor?
I think he was a doctor,
Okay, well,
but I could be
either
wrong.
or, it was a building. He had his own setup, and
Yep.
like I said, anybody that would come through there, like you mentioned, the World Fair or whatever,
Yeah.
whether it be an immigrant or another fellow American moving there for opportunity or whatnot, he would he would do what he did, right? And then nobody would know these people were missing because there was no documentary, no documentation system set up yet. Driver's
Mhm.
license, ID, social security numbers, all that kind of thing. Social security numbers were still like about 10, 15 years from being into it, so it was like the 1905. You have to look him up to get the exact date. Now I'm curious. Hold on. What was his name?
H.H.
It-
Holmes.
yeah.
Liz actually read a book about him and the
See, he
Chicago
was born
World
in
Fair.
1861. So let's see when he did most of his killings. Well, he died in 1896, so it was a little bit earlier than I thought. Okay. Um, so his span of victims is from like yeah, it was only 8 years, but he was apprehended in 1894. The span of victims was from like 1880, about 8 years. Okay, so in those 8 years, and he was married, and he went to the University of Vermont. He was acclimated. educational wise, but he had what was called the Holmes Castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so he was a little bit earlier than I thought. I mean, any documentary the system in place was still ways away. So that's
Mhm.
where he was able to take advantage of, right? I mean, people would go missing, you wouldn't know unless they wrote home or something. Hey, you know what I mean? Letters. There
Mhm.
were the post op. You know, the post office had already been established, and so was um, you know, the communication system. Or when they did the little ticky thingies, you know.
Well, this is going to be a
Telegram,
good show.
telegram, yeah, telegrams and mail were a
Carrier
thing.
pigeon.
No, not shut up. But anyway, yeah. So he took advantage. I mean, it wasn't a major advantage for him because people would go missing. Nobody would know. You know, you wouldn't know for a
A
long
lot of
time.
time would pass.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of time would pass, right? So that was something that was definitely on his side. But the fact that to me that makes it more interesting is he had wives, he was married, his educational background, all of that, and how he took advantage of you know systems in play, you know
Yeah.
systems that didn't exist yet to full advantage for
Yeah.
for his sickness that he had. So
Interesting answer. I thought for sure you were going to say Ed Gein.
who's that? No.
What do you mean, who's that? You asked me to cover that case.
Oh, I don't know. I always forget. I always get the names mixed up.
Oh God, Beckham. You guys, when
I
I
need a
say
spreadsheet of like serial killers and like their names, what they kind of did, what they were
um,
into, because it's
or
like,
instead of a spreadsheet, just watch my channel. Hey,
yeah.
Israel. Israel has a question. Danny, did you ever look into the ghost train incident I mentioned to you a few months back? I did. So it was a little, there seemed to be a little bit all over the place with information, at least from what I was reading. The big thing for me that I found interesting was that it's last I read is it's still not solved. So that was interesting. If there has been an update since then, let me know. But I did look into it. I think I was expecting, like, based on the title, I think I was expecting some like really creepy stuff where I'd be like, Auntie Mimi, you gotta look at this. But it seemed to be a little bit more sinister about them than from what I'm remembering. But I did look it up, yes. Kim, welcome. Oh my God, Ella's coming in with a million questions, making me nervous. If you had, so Beckham, so if we had the opportunity to go anywhere in the world on vacation, where would we go?
I saw this really cool video the other day. It had like somebody having dinner across the street from the Colosseum in Italy, and I guess the video made it look really enchanting because of the lighting and the video. It was professionally done, of course, so it
Mm-hmm.
made it look like really cool. Like it was at night. The Colosseum's like, well, it wasn't. It was like um, late afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
where like the lighting was really nice in the restaurant, and across the street the lighting in the Coliseum was pretty cool, so it was just perfect, and
Hmm.
it just seemed really cool. And I just thought that would be really cool to do that.
Right now, I'd be thinking for myself either Australia or the UK. That
Hmm.
would be kind of be my go-to right now.
Uh, I'd like to see a panda jump on top of your head.
Danny, research this case. The two missing girls from Welch, Oklahoma. All right, let me screenshot that because honestly, I will not remember at the end of the show. So, all right. Danny, what are you going to do when the Hulkster comes for you? Hey, David, what a weird question.
He's doing them.
Well, wrestling,
You said
wrestling.
you liked wrestling, so
Right.
that's actually funny.
Oh God, the Hulk wasn't there when I was watching, when I was really into it. I think he came back at one point. I want to say like was it NWO? Was it, oh God.
Oh, and he was dressed in all black and had the big
Yeah. It
black
was like
beard.
they made
Yeah.
like a brief appearance back, but like he wasn't one of the big ones when I was watching and like going to events. Fun fact, I've met a lot of wrestlers because I would take the when I say take the day off, I would skip school basically and go hang outside the garden and just all day as they drove in, and a lot of them would just come out and sign autographs and post their pictures. And I would do that every time they came to the area. So I met a lot of wrestlers that way, which is cool. Danny After Dark and Beckham, I got a question. Ooh, what would be your last meal if you were like about to be executed? That's an interesting question, because there was a point where I think a lot that's gone away, where people get like their own last meal.
Yeah, but it's still interesting to think about. What if you were a Jedi and the Sith captured you and they were going to give you your last meal?
You know what I would want? Doesn't
have to be prison. I'm just saying.
No, if I was about to be executed, one of my old bosses who I'm still friends with and close with, she makes, and she knows I say this, the best mac and cheese I've ever had in my life. She gave me the recipe and I've made it a bunch of times. It's good, but like not as good as when she makes it. I would want her mac and cheese as my last meal. It's so good.
I would have a steak, mac and cheese, one slice of pizza, pepperoni and mush, just one, because I'd be getting kind of full. One slice of pizza, and like a little bowl to end it, a little bowl of like cookies and cream ice cream.
I love how you're like little bowl, blah blah blah.
Well, I'd be full by that time, dude. I'd be like, oh.
Hey, Kels, you don't have a wrench. I'm going to give you one. My apologies.
You probably. I'm surprised you wouldn't order some like freakish coffee to start it off.
He said, "What would you eat?" Coffee is a drink. But yeah, no. Would I get? Yeah. Oh, 100%. All right, Kels, you're getting a wrench. Capone says, as a reminder to all of us, the highest body count in human history, Linda Zodiac Rodstedt. Hey, Kathy. Let's see. Carl Panzram. He's an interesting one. I covered him like early on in my channel. He's a fascinating prisoner too. Yep. Awesome. Danny, I was really amazed at the old hippie dude that worked there and collected the info over the years. Let's see. Danny, how did you get interested in true crime? I've always been interested in true crime, like as far back as I can remember. Like growing up near Salem, I was into like the Salem witch trials, like not just like, oh, let's go, like Mom, Dad, take me to Salem and let's hang out. Like, no, like I'd be like, I want to read books about it. I want to see documentaries about it. Like I really was fascinated with it. And I've always I went to school for psychology. So I've always been fascinated with how the mind works. And just along the way, it's one of those, as much as I'm fascinated with what makes a killer do what they do, I'm also really, I've always said since day one, I'm more fascinated with my areas, how society reacts to that person and to that trial. So like the Karen Reed trial right now is like, oh my God. I'm more fascinated with like everything going on. But yeah, I've always been into it. There were, and like I was a kid when Bundy was executed, and I remember that. I just remember him, even though I was still young, he was already convicted and in jail at that point. But even still, the way society reacted around him, it was still this whole like, oh no, this handsome law student. It's like, what are you talking about? Anyway, Beckham, what got you into true crime?
I honestly was never into true crime growing up.
Yeah, I didn't
even know who Charles Manson was until 2020. And people are like, how? And I've told people Manson is not a subject matter that's covered at the college level. It's not. There's nothing truthful about the case. There's nothing there's nothing procedural that was done correctly. There's nothing about that case that was right.
Mhm.
Nothing. Zero. Zero. So you can't teach it. You
No.
can't talk about it, and you can't like, you just can't, because there's nothing. There was no truthfulness to it.
I was
And we
gonna say,
might not.
unless it's like wrapped into like
Yeah,
cults, but
you might. Well,
colleges, you don't really
you
learn
could
about
you're
cults.
studying. Yeah, no, not really. You're right,
Yeah.
and it's because that's such a broad subject matter that it has to be, man. To teach that alone, I can't. Yeah, I wouldn't even. Yeah, you have to be really. You got to walk a fine line there with multiple subjects within the same main entity of the subject that you want to discuss. But yeah, I mean, I didn't even know who Manson was until 2020, until the whole shutdown thing was anyway. So yeah, I
Mm-mm-mm.
mean, I nobody ever talked about him, and nobody did anything in criminal justice court classes. It was never discussed, so I never knew about it. You
Yeah.
know, so
Hmm. Wolf has a good question. Does a hitman like the Iceman count as a serial killer? When it was for work, it
mm,
seems like a different category. So technically, he would be more along the lines of like a contract killer as
yeah,
opposed to a
for money,
serial killer. But because then again, like when you think of like mafia and like mob hitmen, they're not in the class of serial killer. And I know there's debate on whether he, worked for one of those organizations or not. But no, technically they don't fall within that because it was contracted out. He didn't just. Then again, there's been documentaries where he's like, "Oh, someone made me mad, so I killed him," and it's like, okay, well then that kind of counts. But technically, no, he's not in that box. Um,
no, we didn't talk about Wonderland Matter. We didn't talk anything about that. No.
I'm a little bit behind. I'm trying to go in order.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, 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 no. That's fine. That's fine. Could either of you be a witness in an autopsy? I would love to.
No.
I would love to. I would find that how I would handle it when I saw it would be, I can't answer that, but I would love to see what that next step
It's
is.
not what you think.
You know what, Beckham? You answer your way, I'll answer mine.
Oh no,
And
I'm talking to yeah, her.
I would like to. There's like every step of a process I would like to see. Like even going before that, if I could have the opportunity in some way, shape, or form to accompany somebody, like shadow on a crime scene and how they investigate and how they interview suspects. Like I would like to see every step of everything. So that falls within
Well, you're looking at it from like a medical procedural
it.
standpoint. Yeah, that's different. Yeah.
Like hearing Dr. Michael Baden speak at CrimeCon the last 2 years and getting the chance to meet him this year, like the way he talks about how he's conducted like thousands and thousands of autopsies, it's just, I know for him, for like people like him, it's just a day's work, but like there's so much that goes into it, like so much. Like I just would want to just learn so much by watching an expert do what they do. And I know it would be way beyond my comprehension, but I would still like to. Right, Baden is, when I met him, Ella, I was like, it is an honor and a privilege to meet you because this guy is like the best at what he does, in my opinion. Of course, Beckham didn't care while I was at CrimeCon. He's like, "Oh, are people asking about me? Are people asking about me?"
No, I
Kidding.
did. Oh my God. No, I didn't. Stop.
Um, let's see. James Watson says, "What about Wonderland, Mr. Beckham?"
No, I never. No.
Um, all right, all right. What do you think kicked off the serial killer era? World War II trauma. No, in my opinion, if you go back, this has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's just not as, think of how the media has evolved. For all we know, there's way more than is written about in what we know. Like, for example, Bell Guinness, Bell Gunness, There's just been so many prior that they're almost like mythical at this point. But I think it's always been around, and I think it's just, especially in the last few decades, now it's more talked about and circulated. And I think also the way people were able to commit these types of crimes has evolved. The book I got, was it The Poisoner's Handbook? That was, what is going on outside? I think somebody in my street is having a party because I just hear loud music right now. That's funny. So if that's distracting to y'all, I'm sorry. But yeah, they were talking about in the Poisoner's Handbook, like all these poisons back in the day, like again, hundreds of years ago, that people were using to commit these crimes, and they went undetected because back then they were common household goods. Like you could just go and get like arsenic at your local drugstore. It wasn't, you know what I mean? And now you can't do that. So who knows how many more people got away with that than were caught. But this has been going on for a really long time. Okay, so I do have a list of questions that I have in advance, but we'll kind of bounce around with that and what you guys have live. So Beckham, let's see. Would you have been in the Manson family if you were there at the time?
I would have,
Beckham
with my personality. I probably, I mean, the reality of it is I probably would have gone. See, I'm a realist, and I have to think about it from a reality standpoint, how I was raised and all that. I would have been drafted into the war. If I would have made it back from the war alive, I probably would have gone in some sort of law enforcement capacity, only because I'm not like, I probably, and this is a whole other. We're into a whole other subject because you're talking about the '60s Vietnam. The Vietnam War was a big determining factor in many people's lives. Unfortunately, a lot of young men, um, you know, died because of the war. So that war really was the component and for people's lives, whether they never made it back. If they were there, they saw too much, they went through too much at such a young mind that their minds were not really mature yet because they were coming. I got stories to tell you about guys that have opened up to me, or I'm sorry, men from that time, and it's amazing some of the stuff that they witnessed and went through, even in the whole draft issue, with the whole draft issue. But anyway, so if they were there and they got into the drugs thing, they would have came back, probably did the drug, probably couldn't escape what they saw, got involved with drugs. Some of them that were strong enough to have kept it together, survived it, came back, got government jobs, went into law enforcement. I mean, there's just different things happened, right? So
Right.
probably I probably would have gone to the war. If I would have made it back alive, I I would have probably been too scared to try drugs, and I probably would have gone into government or some sort of policing job or something. So I probably realistically would not have been part of that culture, that part of
Hmm.
the culture. And
Interesting.
that's the reality of it, rather the reality of it. Yeah.
Interesting. I would say no because shocker.
And it's also about how you're raised too, sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, okay, this is a shocker. Beckham, I know you're about to be stunned. I'm a control freak. So I don't like to take orders from people. I don't like, obviously when you're like on the job and you're at work, like, you're assigned tasks and you do them. I'm talking like in my real life, like I'm not, if someone's like, Danielle, do this. No. Um, so I don't think I would. No, I wouldn't, because I wouldn't want to follow the directions of anybody else. I'd be too combative, even if I wanted to. And I'm not just talking about like the Manson family in particular, but like any of those type of groups, communes at the time, they would have thrown me out real fast because, yeah,
You just
I
it wouldn't
just,
you would there would have been too much conflict between you. Yeah.
they'd be like, who's in charge here? This bitch
Yeah.
or this? Like, no, no.
And actually, I had an uncle that actually everything I just described to you was my one. Well, not my uncle, my mom's uncle, which was my grandmother's brother. He was like in like special forces, and And I've shown you a picture of him. I've shown you and Paul his picture.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he was in the Marines and all that, and he did 3 tours, survived it, came back. He ended up being a sniper, or he ended up doing SWAT for a police department, and then he did that and for the next 30 years, and then he retired. So that
Mm.
was, what I mean. But he never was. And he never got into that culture, into the whole drug. I mean, he was the opposite of that, and that's probably and how he was raised. I was kind of raised. I was raised very strict, very straightforward, sports, that kind of thing. So that's probably would have been the reality of it for me. Would have been.
Gotcha. This is not a true crime question per se. Ella, follow the rules. What animal scares you the most? For me, it would be like a rat or like a mouse. Ugh, I don't like creep. I don't like the little creepy crawly stuff. I would come face to face with a tiger or a lion or like shark. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't scare me. A rat or a mouse, I'm out. What about
You know
you,
what they do
Beckham?
to what they do to rats? It's like,
Just answer the question.
no, I've had to go to war, dude. My dad had this bright idea to a summer project one time. Of course, he got me involved. I don't know why. We could have just gone and bought one at Home Depot and saved us the trouble. But he thought it would be a good summer project for him and I to build a shed together. Anyway, we built the shed outside, and of course, if he's an engineer, but I'm not. Anyway, we did it, and there was probably gaps in it somehow. And one day, I'm opening the door to get the lawnmower out and all that, and I see like a 10-foot rat run out. Okay. And then I'm like, it freaked me out, man. It freaked me out. I had to like battle it for like 2 different times, and it was a mother rat. It wasn't 10 feet, but you know what I
Oh
mean.
God.
But you know what I mean. It was a big rat, and I didn't know they were like shapeshifters. They can shift their bodies into, like, they don't have like a spine or something, so they can like get
They
into
can get
different.
into tight
Yeah,
places. Yeah.
exactly. I had no idea about that. I didn't know about that kind of thing. And
How people have rats as pets blows my mind.
and then like it had its babies and everything, and so I had to deal with all that stuff at one time.
Oh, and that's how you learned about the
And anyway, I
reproduction.
know I ended up giving those to my friend who had a boa. He had a boa snake.
Beckham, you could have left that part out. Oh my God!
And
Now
then
this
no,
video is
no,
going to
but
get taken
but
down.
what's funny though? What's
What?
funny is that they were too new.
Hi, Shelly.
They were like too new. They were like too new, and the boa couldn't smell it. They couldn't smell it, so it didn't eat them.
Okay, okay.
So just
I
when
have a
you
very
asked me,
animal loving like
well, it did.
audience.
Nothing happened, so it's good. You know.
All right. Jesus Christ, Beckham. James Barkley. Hello. Hey guys, what are your favorite movies based on true crime? Ooh. Uh, I'm not like into that type of thing. So I will answer you by default. And because I'm anti Netflix, I will say the one thing I'll give Netflix is the 3-part documentary on the Boston Marathon bombing. I think they did an excellent job in regards to the accuracy of what happened. There was nothing, they didn't add bullshit stuff like they did for other stuff like the Dahmer thing. But yeah, but other than that, like I don't watch movies based on serial killers. It's just not my thing. What about you, Beckham?
Best movie on Helter Skelter. Does that count?
Sure.
What's the name of that
Sure.
movie?
Oh, I don't know.
With Jodie Foster.
Oh, Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs is really good. I mean, I know it's fake, but and all that, but it was really good.
I've
Like
seen that.
that is
Yeah.
right there would be where you can kind of see the impact the mental side of the chess game between a serial killer, a real, like a serial killer that likes to mess with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the law enforcement side, and that right there. I mean, it's still good even to this day. You
That
can
yeah.
still, well, the Zodiac was good, but I think I mean, like I said, even though the Silence of the Lambs is fake, but it's just the whole exchange and dialogue between the guy, the character, and Jodie Foster's character is amazing, amazing writing.
Yes, it is. I will give you that. I will say it is great entertainment. But of course, me being me with a critical eye, I'm like, that is fake
Oh,
because no law enforcement agency would send the newest rookie to
oh
deal
yeah,
with
that's true. Yeah,
that.
that's okay. I didn't know.
Again, makes
You're
this
right.
it made for a great
Yeah,
movie.
you're
Like,
right. That's right. She's new into that,
yeah, not even
into
with a
that.
partner. Like it was just like,
Yeah,
hey, go do
that's
this. I'm like,
true.
that doesn't
Right,
happen.
right. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got you.
I'm a pain in the ass to watch this stuff with, like honestly,
What did
because
you think about that show on Netflix with all the serial killers?
that show with all the serial killers.
Um, the one that has Manson comes out in it, and
Um True Detective?
no, no, it has Manson in it. Yeah, there's 2 seasons. They wanted the third one, and the third one never came.
Oh,
And it has all these, these two agents. They're part of that a specialized unit. It is a specialized
Mindhunter.
mine hunters. Yeah, there you go, mine hunter. Yeah, there you
Mindhunter.
go.
That was really good. That
Okay,
was
that
really
was
good.
good. Yeah, I would agree. They matched the killer to how they. I mean,
Mindhunter,
they
thank you
casted
guys.
amazingly in that show. They casted.
I'm a John Groff fan, so yeah. Yeah, but no, that was really good. Let's see. Renee asks an interesting one. Do you follow true crime that doesn't involve murder? Yes, I do. I personally follow a lot, even though I don't talk about it all on YouTube. What about you, Beckham? You know what? I can answer for Beckham. No, he doesn't, because he didn't even know who Charles Manson was till 2020. So
Not really.
let's see. People like your answer for Silence of the Lambs.
But I can see your point too, because that's right. They just throw her to the wolves, literally.
Mm-hmm. Mark Boxcar, do you know anything about Charles Manson and his time on McNeil Island? There's an obscure video of Charles Manson's cell. It has alphabet pentagram painted
Hmm.
on the floor. Have you seen that video? I've not seen that video. I only know about his time at McNeil Island in regards to what's been published in the
Right,
various books
right.
we've read, which isn't a lot.
I know
So,
somebody that knows a lot about that. It's really researching that part of Manson. Um, I do know somebody that likes to research that time in his life. Um,
so stay tuned.
I'd have to ask them about it, but I'm not aware of anything
Hmm.
like that.
Is it your buddy Tom O'Neill? Just kidding.
You mean Tom
I'm
O?
just kidding. All right. All right. So while there's a gap in questions, let's go to what I have from what I've gotten. This is in no particular order. Let's say, hey, Tony, good to see you, hon. Are you going to CrimeCon Denver? I've been getting that quite a bit. Yes, I'm going to CrimeCon Denver. I mentioned it to Beckham. I don't know if he'll be going, probably not, but I
Dude,
think
you're
I think
asking about CrimeCon in 2025. You're talking like in a year and a half from
get
now.
your priorities straight.
It's like a year and 3 months. That's
Plenty of
like
time to plan.
15 months from now.
I am going. I am going. Can I do more book recommendations and reviews? Yes, yes. There will be a lot more to come. That seems to be really what you guys are digging, which is awesome. So yeah, there will be more
If
of
you,
that.
dude, I'm telling you right now, if you want a story for people that are listening to this show right now, if you want a story that has everything you can think about, including possible murder, and that's everything from law enforcement possibly being involved or botching the case, or how a case goes through the court system procedurally wise, or possible federal indictments, because of the local law enforcement is not hasn't done their job correctly, or could be involved somehow or whatever, is that Karen Reed case. That thing covers all the aspects of true crime in that case alone. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, y'all need to start like looking into that case, because it is a whirl of a case with that involves everything that true crime fans love to get into or love to venture into.
Mm-hmm.
It touches everything. It has everything, and it's still a mystery. And they can't. Nobody knows what happened. Nobody does. Like the experts don't seem to be experts. They don't, and like I mean, nobody knows, and it's gonna be like it's gonna be, I mean, like if people are gonna write books from it and give their own scenario. That's funny. And their own thoughts on it, or write their own books on it and everything like that. And and if
Oh, there's
Karen,
going to
dude,
be.
dude, if Karen Reed gets out of this somehow, she's gonna be a millionaire. Like,
Mm-hmm.
right. The sad thing, the one thing about the case, the
There
sad
will be
thing,
no justice for John O'Keefe.
yeah, the poor police officer, the guy that lost his
John
life,
O'Keefe, yeah.
has been forgotten in this whole thing, because it's such a, I'm not gonna say the word show. It's really just like shocking and surprising about how
Mhm.
everything has come to play in this case. And like I said, if things intrigue you, if oddities and situational, diplomacy from from everything,
Police
even the police
corruption,
corruption,
sex,
I mean,
a
all kinds of
potential
stuff.
affair because of with
Yeah.
Brian Higgins.
Oh yeah, everything. Federal agents not knowing what to all of a sudden do and they've been like in their careers for like more than 10 years, you
Hmm.
know. And like
Yeah.
I said, experts not being experts. And then to really solidify it as one of the most insane cases that I've ever heard of, is the governor. The governor came in and said something about it. And one word, right? Or a sentence. And one
Hmm.
sentence or one word, and her tone, the way how she said it.
He's disgusted.
Yeah, it's get into it, because it has everything you could ask for in true crime, that true crime covers.
So okay, the perfect transition. And short answer, you can explain a little bit what, because I've gotten this message quite a bit that we've been covering it. Simply, do you think Karen Reed did it? I'll answer while you gather your thoughts. For so long, I've been going back and forth, and then
Ooh,
I
yeah.
was like, well, if she did, I think if she was trashed, let's just put that out there. She was really intoxicated. I don't think she would have remembered, blah, blah, blah. I think based on everything we've heard, and through the testimony, I'm going with she didn't do it. And the reason why I've come to that conclusion is I'm blanking his name. Oh my God. He was the officer from Dighton Police, and he went to Dighton
Mm,
where Karen went to her parents' house in Dighton,
mm,
Massachusetts
mm,
after John O'Keefe was found. She drove there in her vehicle. Dighton Police assisted Trooper Proctor and the state police with towing her car. Again,
yeah,
it should have
yeah,
gone to a closer place from the
right.
Mass State Police, but no,
Not
it went to
Nothing adds
Campbell's.
up, man. Yep, yep.
So the Dighton police officer, and I'm blanking his name, I apologize. He has no dog in the fight in this at all. He's not one of the state troopers trying to cover anything. He's not part of Canton Police trying to cover anything. He testified when he went to Dighton, to Karen Reed's parents' house in regards to assisting Trooper Proctor with getting the vehicle. The taillight was cracked, but it was intact. There was not a piece missing. So I'm like, all right, he has nothing to lose here. And his statement is very different from everybody else's. And then especially where we learned last week that Trooper Proctor took the vehicle, took possession of the vehicle, documented that he took it an hour later than he actually did, never went to the crime scene the day of, went the following day, and all of a sudden, oh, here's the broken glass. Especially now that we've seen him on that Sallyport video where he's behind the vehicle, and it's like, well, why are you there? I don't think she did it. What about you, Beckham?
I saw the interview, and I talked about this Friday night. Her interview a year ago, and she was very confident in her answers. She was very adamant about her answers. It's the same point, but yeah, I don't think she did either. And only because she was very descriptive of that night until she left. Remember we talked about it. And then so she was very descriptive. She was very solid on her answers, and the lawyers backed it up by saying, "Look, you in the same interview, but different setting type area, different area away from her." He said it himself. He's like, the injuries that were on him were not of a impact. They were of a pretty much a physical beatdown. Okay, you had, like, if you would have been like, even if you were like stumbling and like the car hit you, or you might have seen the car like for like a split second, you might have put your arm up or something. Those were not the same type of injuries on his body. It was more like he was defending himself for like multiple seconds. You know what I mean? It wasn't just a quick boom or whatever. It was more like, for multiple hits to him on his body, right?
Yeah.
So that right there kind of told me something. And then the whole thing about Proctor not kind of avoiding having, I work in investigations. When I do my reports and stuff, I literally go, I go over it and over it and over it and over it to make sure the information is correct. You know what I mean? Like 6 times, 7 times, like, and then somebody else sees it and they go, so not only do you have your own, you're not only doing it yourself, somebody else has to see your work, because they have to validate that the information is correct, because they're so crucial, right? If it goes, for us, it would be the U.S. Attorney's Office. For them, it would be the District Attorney's Office, right? You have to. There's procedures to these things, guys, and for him to have kind of not done it like he didn't take he went further than he needed to, or he took the car further than he needed to. He messed up on the dates. He messed up on this. Come on, like, it's almost like he was purposely doing it. All this false narrative of policing, because it was almost like he was trying to cover something up. I mean, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
It really does. Am I saying he didn't know, but it looks that way. Because, how could you make such a multiple errors on procedurals?
That's the thing. It wasn't
right.
one.
It wasn't just one little thing. Okay, I forgot the date right there. I'm sorry, my bad. Or the timestamp or what. No, it was multiple things. Right. So with that, how many errors there were there, the fact that, the whole procedural thing and competency, well, whatever you want to call it, that's a really red flag. And the whole thing about his body, the deceased's body, and her interview that I saw, and she was very adamant. She was very really, she answered the questions really well, confident. I honestly don't think she did. And something happened, I think, in the house, because she says and I didn't know this. Remember, she laid all this out. She took upon herself. She took the kids. She took,
Mhm.
she started caring for his niece and nephew, like a mom, right? And to me, that kind of changed my outlook on her. Actually, I wasn't aware of that, but that says a lot. Okay. And then she literally dropped. Remember, she said in the interview, she says, "Hey, we weren't really invited to this party. We really weren't."
Mhm.
Like it was almost like they got shaded or something, and she didn't feel like they were kind of like openly invited, but they still went anyway for whatever reason he wanted to go. Um, he told her, "Hold on, I'll be back," or he's like, "I'm gonna come back," and it was like 10 minutes, 15, and if it's that late, any one of us will get irritated. We're like, "Man, hurry
Mhm.
up! I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna take off." She kept texting him. She called him. He never answered. Whatever, right? Are you coming? Hurry up, or whatever. It's cold, or whatever, right? Yeah, she went home. She's like,
Yeah.
"Well, screw this. You can go find your way home." So, and then the fact that if police would have known the the angles to all this situational, or would have had situational awareness in this case to figure out if there was any beef going on in that house with anybody, could have something have happened. They didn't even look into that. Not They didn't
No.
even look into it. Didn't even look into that.
Yeah.
So
I'm so happy you got into this
it
case.
just looks to me like something crazy is happening, and there's no way there's that much incompetence within the department, and you're talking careers are at stake now. It's
Yeah.
so bad that it almost looks like it was done purposely, that careers are now at stake, right? Am I right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So Capone, yeah, is mirroring what you're saying. The cops F this case so bad that that's on
Exactly.
purpose
It
that
like
nobody
looks like
ever
it
get.
has to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we'll keep you guys posted on that for the true crime and chills. But yeah, I at first, and I was very outspoken. I'm like, oh, the way she smirks and this and that.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
not.
No, you're right. I kind of
Oh yeah,
followed your
no,
lead
I'm
on
the
that.
first one to admit, like, I my first initial thoughts, I was wrong. I was wrong. Yeah, Ella's thinking he got into a fight outside. The dog started attacking him. He got out with a punch, put out in the snow. Yeah. K Dog, they are supposed to color code it by day of the week numerically, then alphabetize it by month in reverse order, starting in the middle. Simplest way to do it. Yeah. Right. So we both think she didn't do it. There was a question. I didn't want to miss it. Where was it? Was it, do you ever watch the first 48? I can't remember if I answered that question. I was obsessed with the first 48 growing
I
up. I
don't
was
know.
obsessed. I think it's still on.
Yeah, they used to actually fight. It was actually Dallas police for a long time.
Hmm.
They had Memphis, they had Dallas,
Oh,
and they
I
had
loved the Memphis one. That was old
why?
school.
Why?
Detective Tony Mullins and Caroline Mason. Oh my gosh, they were my favorite duo. That's old school first 48 right there. I'm
No, I
telling
don't.
you,
Yeah,
that's some
I
good
don't remember
stuff.
that. Yeah.
Let's see. Danny, some time ago I recommended My Sister Millie. Incredible book. Did you get a hold of it? I don't have it. I did look it up. I can't remember why I didn't purchase it. I think it's still in my cart. But I did look it up when you mentioned it. Yes, I'm about to say it's the author that rings the bell, Gemma. Good friend. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we'll update you guys. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. There won't be a true crime and chill this weekend. I have plans, so I will not be around. I'm like jam packed this weekend. So we'll keep y'all posted. Just quickly wrap up Karen Reed. The defense is supposed to start calling its witnesses on Friday. So by the end of next week, it should be in the hands of the jury. So
The
we'll
defense
see.
is gonna tear them up.
We'll see. Hey, Firefly, good to see you, hon. So let's see. This was a good question that I got. I'm new to your channel. What does the wrench do in the chat? Good question. So the wrench, which James, you don't have a wrench. So the wrench is more so if you have if we're talking about something, especially where this is a true crime channel that's a bit, all over the place in regards to content, if you have a wrench, you could post a link. So a lot of times you guys will do that if we're talking about something. Hey, here's the link for this. Or if sometimes you guys will have something that you want either someone in people in the chat or for me to see. And if you post the link, then I can click it and get to it. You can't post links if you don't have a wrench, which is weird. But that's YouTube for you. So yeah, once you've been here a little bit, you'll get a wrench, and yeah, you can post stuff. So, and then also like if people come in and just say stupid shit, you can like boot them with a wrench. But it's more so for sharing information, because this is a great space to share it. So yeah. Hey Todd, good to see you. Let's see. I wonder how many crimes would go unsolved if nobody talked. Yeah, I mean, nowadays, though, with like DNA and how it's evolved, I feel like you don't necessarily have to do that. But back in the day, yeah, you had to for sure. Let's see. Back to okay, I think we're caught up in the chat with the answers. We got. Will Liz be doing more shows with you and Beckham? Yes, she will be. She just a few things going on right now, and then she will be back. She's very apologetic because I was like, I made you the official Karen Reed correspondent. But Beckham's taken an interest in the case, which is awesome. So yeah, Liz will be back more. I know when the Brian Walsh case starts, me and her are so into that case. Look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, she will be very involved for that. But yes, she'll be back. Let's see. We got another Beckham and Danny one. Will you and Beckham be reviewing the new Jeffrey Dahmer season on Netflix? If y'all want it. But I said to Beckham, I don't know what they're going to do. He died at the end of the first one.
And they covered the story pretty since he was little, right? From little to adult.
Mm-hmm. But it's Netflix. They also added the sandwich, and that never happened in real life. God, when you messaged me about the sandwich, I'm like, what are you talking about?
What if they do while he was in, how long was he in prison? I know he was murdered
for several years.
And they might do a post, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess we could Google it.
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but if you guys,
what you going to do, brother?
If you guys want us to, we certainly can. Just be prepared. I'll probably be complaining up a storm because they already butchered the first one with the story. Let's see what they'll do with this.
What you going to do, brother?
I just looked at CrimeCon. I can't believe how those top tiers are already sold out. Renee, yeah. So if anybody's wondering what Renee's referring to, and I actually had this conversation with Beckham when I was talking about it with him. So you can buy a weekend pass, like a standard weekend pass, and it gets you to all the stuff. You can buy one that's like a step above that. It costs more money, but then you get to do like some extra events. So like after CrimeCon, there'll be like for example, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday after. It's like if you buy that extra pass, you get to do those things. Okay. There's another tier, which is like crazy expensive, like mortgage payment a month, crazy expensive. But so it gets you all of that, and you basically get to cut the line at the shop, cut the line in regards to any meet and greets, and then also you get like front seating in regards to like any of the panels. You get to go in through like a front door and get seated up there where the rest of everybody. I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. I've done the standard pass and had perfectly fine experiences with that. But you know what? If people want to spend that kind of money and if you want those extras, then great. But yeah, those went fast. I'm like, who the heck has like $1,700 Oh God, that's all right. That's all right. Well, I probably would have
like
$1,700.
Dude, for $1,700, you should have like lunch with somebody or dinner with somebody or all kinds of stuff. I was wondering, I think I'm gonna get my own booth.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Beckham shirts for all. That's all I gotta say. Shauna Gardner case. Jose Baez is her attorney. That will start and your year beginning 2025. Okay, Ella, it's on the radar. Are there a lot more judges with a biased agenda, or has it always been like this? I think it's always been like this. I think it's always been like this. What do you think, Beckham?
What? What judges? Oh no, dude. I don't know, man. My first judge ever to really pay attention to how they were acting was Judge Ito. Do you remember Judge Ito?
No, I remember Judge Judy.
From dude, Judge Ito in a major case was the O.J. Simpson judge.
Oh.
You don't remember Judge Ito?
No, that Judge Ito is not on my radar.
Yeah. He played it fair, but I think he did. But if you're talking about the Karen Reed lady judge, is that what you're talking
She
about?
is
Dude,
done.
she literally told what's his name? Yeah, I saw it. When was it? Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. The defense lawyer for Karen Reed. What's his name?
There's Yannetti, David Yannetti,
The other guy.
Jackson.
Jackson. She's like, come on, Jackson, make it easy on him. she's just like,
Oh, I know what you were referring to.
She was like,
Yeah.
she was like, whatever she called him, Jackson. She's like, Jackson, just ask the easy to the point question and get this over with. Or it was like, I was like, oh my God. I started laughing because he was trying to, the prosecution was like, they abstained or something, and she's like, she sustained their objection, and she's like, come on, Jackson, just make it easy so we can move on.
I know what part
because he was trying to trick the guy. I think he was trying to trick the guy to how to answer the question. It was funny. Yeah, it was funny.
Let's see. We got a question. Why does Paul not do the True Crime and Chill episodes with you and Beckham? Paul is too cool. No, Paul's not
I thought
into
he was going to be
true
here tonight,
crime.
actually.
I
thought he was going to be here tonight.
He originally thought so, but then he had plans.
Oh, that's why I thought so then.
But he even says, like, he's like, I'm not into true crime. I don't add anything. I'm like, Paul, you do. You just make me look much better. But no, just kidding. Yeah, he's not into true crime like this. And then anything that has to do with kids, like any cases, oh God, that's like a hard no for him. So the second it involves a child, like he's like, nope, can't do it. So like when I post my episodes, like the case reviews I do, I'll be like, hey, this is safe for you to watch, or nope, don't watch that one, just to give him a heads up. But yeah, no, he's not into true crime for the most part. So, which is, yeah, I don't know. But there's a lot of Beckham questions. My God. What is the deal with Mr. Beckham and his candles?
Who said that?
I'm not revealing who messages me this stuff. No.
Oh, I thought you were reading the chat. My bad. I'm
going off the list.
I'm over here reading the chat. No, my bad.
I'm going off I'm bouncing between the chat and the list of questions I got DM'd.
We've been here an hour, and don't even know how it's going. My answers have been deep tonight, okay? I've not been following the chat.
All right, stop avoiding the question. What's the deal with Mr. Beckham and the candles?
It's just always been a thing, I guess. I just always had a candle in the background just to give some light.
It's called putting on the light switch, but okay, that's a fair answer. Have you ever started a fire because of your candles?
No.
That's a Danielle question.
Oh.
Okay.
Never.
Okay. Are you, Paul, and Beckham going to go back to LA? I get that one a lot.
I do have a candle story about fire. It's kind of funny.
Oh, I'm going to hate myself. What's the story?
Well, speaking of candles and putting it out and all that, oh my God, I was an altar boy. I was like 8 years old. And my job as the middle one or the ending one was, because, they go in sizes. So the youngest one I was the youngest one, so I was at the bottom. So I had to go and light the candle. So I went with a little thing, and I was really high, and I lit it. And then I was walking away. They were like, go back, because it kept turning off. I'm like, you're 7 years old and you're like confused, and then you have like 1,000 people watching the priest talking, and it was while he was talking, and like so anyway, long story short, it kept turning off. We started laughing, and when you're that age and you start laughing and you can't stop laughing, that's what happened to me up there. I could not stop laughing because it kept turning off. And we couldn't figure it out why it kept turning off. And it ended up being one of the fans kept, like, I don't know, that was close by that kept not knocking it out. But it was kind of embarrassing and funny all at once, because you're 7, you can't stop laughing, right? Yeah, so that's the only time I've ever had issues with like candles and lighting it and all that kind of stuff, is that in front of like 1,000 or 250 people. No, thank God.
God, K-Dog, I'm not answering that, or I don't want Beckham to answer that. Renee, Paul says he's not going back to LA. Yeah, so in the regards to the question, we get that a lot. Are you, Paul and Beckham, going back to LA? Paul probably won't, but he's not here to answer. So I'll say, Paul said yes. He said, I was an absolute delight, and it was a privilege to be able to travel with me and hang out with me. No, he probably won't go back. It would have to be, there'd have to be like a real specific reason that he would go. So nothing that I can really think of offhand. I certainly will, and I know Beckham certainly will. In regards to when I would go back, I'm not sure, because obviously there's things like CrimeCon that take priority right now financially. But yeah, I will go back for sure. And honestly, in regards to a trio, me, Beckham, and Shelly hitting up LA will be way more fun. So Beckham has no idea what he's in for. No idea. So let's see. Speaking of that, yeah, I'm going to switch this around because there's quite a few Paul and Beckham questions. Let's see. One of the ones I got, and this was from a new subscriber. Do you prefer the filmed format you used to do or the live format you do now for my show? The filmed format was good in regards to I could pre-film and then release when I wanted to, or if I, had a free couple of nights, I could film back to back and like save that up and release it, as opposed to the live shows. The live shows, I feel like that's kind of what you guys wanted more, and I'm enjoying that more. At first I was like, oh God, I'm nervous, even though I did the Manson one with Paul and Beckham forever for that. But I'm enjoying the live shows. I'm really enjoying the true crime and chills. And it seems like y'all are really enjoying that too. And I love that Beckham comes up for this so we can have like a back and forth dialogue. And we don't always agree on the cases with what's going on and how we view it. So yeah, and I'm sure Beckham loves it because now he gets more screen time. So with these live shows over here. So yeah, I love the live format. I really love the true crime and chills because like that's all stuff we're watching in the news. Yeah, so I hope that answers that. We get a lot of this. What cases do you, Paul, and Beckham talk about off camera? I would say it for me.
The three of us, not many.
That's the thing. The three of us together, not a lot,
no.
But individually, yes. Like me, and there's cases that I'll talk about with Paul, and then cases that I'll talk about with Beckham. Like with Paul, we like talk a bit about like right now he's really into the Patty Hearst case, so he's talking about that a lot. Me and him were really into reading around the same time a book about the Black Dahlia. We read some about Dorothy Kilgallen around the same time. Obviously, we've talked, actually, now that I think about it, the three of us have talked about the JFK case together.
Oh yeah, but that's more conspiracy.
Yeah, but it's still a case.
Danny,
With
you don't even know who
Beckham,
shot Kennedy.
right? Oh God, God. With
And I don't
Beckham,
even think you care. You're not in. You're not into Kennedy at all. You're really not.
no, I am not as much as like everybody else, though. I find it, well, the whole Kennedy family in itself is very fascinating. There's a lot
Mm.
there. And I think a lot of it gets overlooked because of it. Like, people just focus on JFK when there's just so much other stuff. Um, like, for example, with Paul, I could say Paul, Karen Reed, and he'd say, who's that? Like, he'd have no idea. With Beckham right now, me and him talk about Karen Reed a lot. What else, Beckham, have me and you talked about off camera?
Trooper Proctor and Bukake.
Bukaki.
Bukaki.
We talk about Beckham. We've talked about Waco.
We never did a show on
We
Waco,
never did, though. What
but
other cases have me and you
Waco
talked
is a
about?
very sensitive case
I
to talk
know.
about. On either side, like, oh my god. Um,
You know what case me and Beckham also talk about off camera now? John Benet Ramsey. And you, was it you who talked about Kurt Cobain, or was that Paul?
you see, okay, so I've learned some new information about John Benet, and it's like every 2 or 3 months I learn new information about it, and it just makes me like, I don't know, that's another case that's insane.
Hmm.
Again, was there a cover up or was it incompetence with law enforcement? I hear
Yeah.
new stuff every like 2 or 3 months. Something new will come out. Now I've
Hmm.
heard about that the dad was, with his title for Boeing or for whoever he worked for. Um, they should have he should have he should have been in communication more with the security team that Boeing had, or not, is it Boeing, or I forgot he was with a defense contract, so they should have had more of a security. His security should have been more tightened. His house was not up to par with security. I did not know any of this with security outside police. I was not aware of this new information. Why was his house not up to date with security? Why was certain things not in place because of security? And then I wasn't again aware they flew her body to Georgia days after after the murder. And guess who flew the body? His employer did. So
Hmm.
there's always new stuff coming out with that case that is just like, I don't even know, but yeah, it's interesting, you know.
Yeah.
And then
Well, I
what was
went to
other?
that panel at CrimeCon with
Yeah,
Mr. Ramsey.
I know, but that's the thing. People don't ask him the right questions if they find out information because they don't put him on the spot,
Hmm.
type of thing. Um, and then what was the other case you're talking about? We talked about Waco, or Jean Benet. What was the other one? You
Kurt
just said it.
Cobain.
Oh yeah. So with the Kurt Cobain case, it came out about 2 or 3 years ago that the FBI in 1996, it's official, it's out there, you can go get it. They communicated. Remember how the FBI had that small unit of serial killers at the time? Because this was 1996. Okay, so they communicated with the police department, or local law enforcement agency that dealt with that case. They shared with them, you might want to reopen this case because we feel there was a serial killer that committed this murder. It was not a suicide. So you're talking about the FBI talking to the police department, stating they felt in their professional process of investigation that it was a serial killer's doing. Then they needed to open or relook at the case, and I don't think the police department ever did. They just kind of
Hmm.
put it as like, whatever. No, it was suicide. We're leaving it alone. But for that, I mean, in 1996, for the FBI to have told, let them know that, to re-examine the case and things like that, because they had evidence to suggest in their investigation that it was a serial killer that committed the crime and not a suicide. That's another case that has a lot of conspiracies to it, too.
Right.
That makes it interesting to people or intriguing to people. So
yeah. Let's see, Capone. Have you guys seen the stuff about Ruby running guns in Cuba?
anything is possible with that one.
I have not.
He was part of the mob, yeah.
I only like for the cases that I do like typically early on in the week.
Yeah.
I'll only do solved cases. I won't do unsolved, which I read about unsolved all the time. It's just more of my own OCD in regards to doing a research and presenting it. I want a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if it's unsolved, there's way too many rabbit holes to go down. And so I would only cover like
sometimes we just don't have time to go through all the rabbit holes.
Yeah, like the Manson case, we'll be doing this forever. Thank you, Todd. Let's see. I got a question. Are any upcoming interviews or collaborations? Both. Quite a few are in the works for both. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of really cool stuff coming in and some collabs with people who you haven't seen yet collab with me. So stay tuned for that. Okay, this was a good one. Do you ever hear from anyone who has personal ties to the cases that you've covered? Yes. There'll be once in a while where I'll get a DM from somebody who it's usually after I've covered the case, because at that point it's in the algorithm, and then people like on YouTube, and then people will DM me where they have a connection to a case, and they'll share their story or whatnot, which is great. Some people have, I hate to say like something to back it up, because at the end of the day, I could just message someone and say, so I don't like to go into it thinking maybe what they're telling me is untrue, but it's just, take everything with a grain of salt. But sometimes people will say, oh, I was friends with them or so on, and they'll send pictures or something that like shows, and it's like, oh, wow, no, this person really was connected to this case or this individual. And that's very interesting. When I get like messages like that, I really try to be hopeful that the research that I did in the case that I covered was just like that. I did it just. But yeah, I do hear from people every once in a while, and yeah, it's interesting when I do. I'm always like, oh no, I hope I did it okay. Let's see. I'm still watching the chat, see if there's any questions.
Well, I mean, remember actually I talked to this friend today.
How many? You don't have many friends. Are you talking about me?
His friend was the lady that lived across the door.
Yeah.
Dahmer. Yeah, his aunt.
Yep.
So my friend's legitimate aunt is the lady that lived across the apartment, or was Dahmer's neighbor that supposedly ate the sandwich.
That never happened.
I asked him about it. He's like, I don't think that ever happened.
Your friend's aunt lived near Dahmer.
Yeah,
she was not propositioned with a sandwich. Let's just.
She was the lady in the show. That was her.
Right.
Yeah.
That character was based on.
Yes.
Her. Yeah. I remember when you messaged that. I was like, oh my god. Yeah. Let's see. How do I?
No way. All right, K-Dog. Seriously.
K-Dog.
Did you see his comment?
Oh, I saw. I got a question. I've gotten this a few times from people. Does Shelly ever yell at you for being mean to Beckham?
No, she says she encourages it.
There was one time, and it was I'm not giving any private information, because I remember she put it in the live chat. Whatever it was, I was on a roll, and was I taking a lot of digs on you, whatever night that was? I was. And at one point, Shelly put in the chat, like, Danny, don't be so mean. And I was just like, oof, I've been spoken to. But no, she doesn't. No, she doesn't yell.
K-Dog, was Kennedy's bust Like, did it roll back into the left inside the machine first?
My God. Horrible, horrible. Let's see. Oh my God, James Watson.
Wait a minute. How old was he when he got the thing? He
K
was
Dog?
6 years old. How did
I
you know
was.
about JFK in his head? Like
Yeah, that's kind of a
exploding.
morbid thing for a 6-year-old to know. Let's see. I have 4 more questions here that were pre-DM'd, and then if you guys have any other questions in the chat, and then we'll just wrap it up for the night. We've been going almost an hour and a half. I get this question a lot, and I've talked about it in other past Ask Me Anything True Crime, but I still get this question, so we'll answer it again. So Beckham, this goes for you too. Are there any cases you read about that are too much for you to handle?
No.
Yeah. Like I said, Paul, who's not into true crime, anything with kids, he can't do. So that's why he doesn't come on for a lot of this over here. For me, it's not. No, I'm pretty good with handling stuff. There's just the one case that I was working on to do a show for you guys. I had the notes all done, and then spent hours and hours on it, and then I was narrowing the script to do it, and I was like, I can't do it. The Sylvia Likens case, it just something about it. I was like, nope, I just can't present this. It just was too much. And then I even tried to I don't want to say switch words, but make the words not as graphic and violent as they were, and it was still just so much. I was like, no, that's like the one case that I don't know what it is about that case, that it's the only one where I'm like, oh God. But other than that, no, nothing really bothers me reading about this stuff. But I read it again from a different angle than a lot of, I don't know. I get this one a lot. Would you write a book? I have nothing to contribute, so no, unless I did like a tell-all about Beckham and Paul and what it's really like to work with them. Other than that, no, I don't have any ties to any cases that I feel like I can contribute something that hasn't been contributed before. What is so funny, Beckham?
Watson's James's comment about JFK
I
and
see it.
Marilyn Monroe.
Jesus. Renee says Albert Fish was too much for me. I could see that. Renee, I'm sure you've seen the x-rays of the pins that he self-mutilated himself with. Yeah. Let's see. Any case, would you write a book, Beckham? On what?
I wouldn't write mine would be just a story, fiction, but it would just be like a fiction of, just for fun. Nothing. I wouldn't write on anything truthful, because I wouldn't want to do all the research it actually takes to do it. Because if you're gonna do a true book on something, you better have all your ducks in a row.
Right.
If it's fiction, it's just a story you're making up and you're adding characters and whatever. It's just a fun read. And it's just entertainment. That's all.
Yeah, which in my mind is spinning right now. What type of fiction book would you write? Would it be some I don't know. You know what, Beckham? You could write a nonfiction book, a book of short stories from time in your fraternity, because the little stories we get here and there, those are
Oh,
gems.
dude, I have those stories. Dude, I seriously.
Those are
Oh man,
gems.
so I was in bank fraud before the government, and I went to go eat with one of the VPs of the unit, and he took me to dinner. And I thought, I'm young, I'm like 27, 28, and I thought we were going to discuss fraud and all this and part of the job. I was all excited to discuss work stuff. Man, that guy wanted to know. He bypassed all that. He wanted me, because I guess he didn't get to live it. he was like, I heard you were in a fraternity and you were like he named the fraternity he heard I was with, and he just wanted me to tell him craziness that happens. That's all he wanted me to talk about the whole dinner.
Oh
And like
God.
at the time, I was like, "Well, how crazy? How crazy do you want to get?"
Yeah, because me and Paul have heard some of these stories, and they're they're quite good. Oh God. Let's
Mm.
see. Adriel says he's trying to write a book. I'd say a book on cyber magic and video games. Well, you would I mean, that would draw a big crowd, to be honest. Um, yeah, for sure. I can already think of several people like who just hang out in this chat in the show that would like be like, all right, I'm in. I want a copy. Let's see. Kane says, what's with all these parents killing their children lately? Kane.
I think that's been going on for forever. We just never. We're just now investigating that.
Or now it's more publicized,
Mm-hmm.
and now people are getting caught more.
You know what's really scary
But yeah.
about like when you start looking into like just weird stuff is how mental health didn't become a serious subject until like the 60s, right? Middle 60s, late 60s. And like for
Mhm.
Dallas, they had these certain part of the hospitals that are now, of course, vacated, and they're just sitting there, and people are like, oh, there's ghosts. And, it turns into that thing, right? It turns into that whole ghost thing. But if you really go looking for records, oh my God. And I one time I went on a deep dive one afternoon just because I was bored, and I started finding records and stuff. I mean, of cases of like mental health patients that were probably committed crimes. They were induced and taken and hidden into these hospitals, these mental wards, and
Mm.
probably the stuff that they tried on them and all. I mean, it's so going on. And the reason what made me think about that is because I think when there's parents killing children or children killing, I think there's some sort of mental health issue there. That's what made me think about it. So I just think even with if you go looking into a lot of these early onset mental health issues cases and get to the medical side of it where they're like I said they're taken, they're kept in these psych wards, and a lot of it's not documented correctly, but you still see some of the documentation. It's intriguing, but it's scary at the same time because as a society, it was like they were just put away and they
Mm-hmm.
weren't really evaluated. But at the same time, you had crimes come out of that. What happened to the crimes they committed? What kind of crimes did they commit? Right? Because you would see some documentation, murder or something or whatever, right? And a lot of those documents are like from the 30s, 40s, like 20s, and things like that. So that's really a sad subject, and like it's an emotional and sad subject because of what it's been going on for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and you see how it just a lot of times it just took us to this point where we are now in modern medicine to be able to at least help with that, because I think a lot of those cases have to do with mental health issues,
Mm.
sadly, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's an excellent point. And one of the going off of that, like here where I am, there
Yeah,
was Danvers State Hospital. It's now
right.
closed, but it
Yeah.
was exactly like one of the places you're talking about, and it has a well documented history of the staff there would do lobotomies on the
Yeah.
patients. And when
Right.
Danvers State Hospital closed, it literally just closed the doors, and everybody there was just go, just leave. There was no follow up for them to go into like
Right.
another
Exactly. Yeah.
place.
Exactly.
They
Right.
were
And then
just
some,
released to the
and
streets.
then things happen. Right. Things happen. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
try going out without sleep for 3 days. Try staying awake for 3 days and see how your mind won't be right. You'll be agitated. You'll get angry. You'll be like your mind is not even. I mean, that's just a normal person. A normal person that doesn't sleep for like 3 days in a row. I mean, how your mind is not all there, and just imagine that being a person's normal daily dealing mental capacity in dealing with everyday life. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's sad, and I think it's just you know what's been documented is there somewhat, but I think
Mhm.
that specified question and issue has been happening for a long time, for a long time.
Yeah. Right. And that's my cat scratching at the rug, by the way. That's Loki. In regards to kind of going off what you said too with mental health, we've seen how in like over Loki, oh my gosh, where in the past several decades, like I mean, as better, and we're not perfect yet, but as
No,
better
no,
mental health services
mm,
have evolved, how
right,
that's impacted cases if somebody has had to plead guilty by reason of insanity. We've seen
right.
how that's evolved. Somebody who got tried for a
Yeah,
crime,
you're
let's say
right. Yeah,
50 years ago,
sure,
totally different than how
totally
they'd
different.
be
Right.
done
Hmm.
now. Decades and decades ago, the mental health wasn't even factored in. It
No,
was
right. That's
just,
what I'm saying. Right. Yeah. And
yeah,
like I said, if you deep dive, and well, in Dallas, I deep dived in Dallas local documents, and you can find some stuff online from like the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and be like, wow, it's kind of shocking almost sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of scary at the same time.
Hmm. So, yeah, that is all the questions that I have that I was messaged or have been messaged as time has gone on. And I've kind of put that together that list. If you guys have any last minute questions for us, please put them in the chat now. Otherwise, we'll kind of wind things up for tonight. And if anybody's watching this after it's been live and you still have a question, pop it in the comments and I will gladly answer for you.
I
So,
mean, real quick, I just remember reading a quick thing about I think it was something to do with the Catholic Church in Mexico, where they found lots of possible dead children, and the nuns, and doing some stuff with the kids, and they were killing the kid. Yeah. I mean, and that was a long time ago. I mean, like a long, long
mhm,
time ago, right? And nothing modern. And it just like, well, I mean, it's the same, almost the same thing. You're still killing a child, but it's.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's happened a lot. It's not
Um,
documented.
Kane says, I disagree. I don't think people were killing their children as much in the past. None killed.
Yeah,
None.
Renee. Yeah, nuns have killed a lot of. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this story was out of Mexico, but it happened a long time ago.
Mhm. I feel like Kane, I can like see both ends where I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm just saying. I
I
just
think
think
it
it's been.
depends.
I just think it's happened. Yeah, so I'm not gonna say that it's always happened. I think it's happened some.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's like I always try to take a step back and think media is different than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years
Yeah.
ago. Are we seeing something
Maybe
that's
not as
being
much, but I think it's happened before. That's what I'm saying.
mhm. But I mean, it does seem like what I will say is like there's always a news story where it's like okay, another one, and it just seems like it's never
Mm.
ending right now. There doesn't seem to be a break of
Well,
like three
the
months where
one
nothing
thing that's crazy right now is female teachers having affairs with their students in high school. That's like every once a month thing now.
that's becoming
That's a lot. I
more
mean, yeah,
discussed.
that's all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that if you, that's a lot. It's like
God.
once a month is like a lot, right? And there's like multiple
Right, because
once
that I
a
mean,
month.
at the end of the day, it's a
It's like
child. Like
yeah, but
it's
it's still
sexual
I'm saying
relations
like
with a
that's a
child.
thing. That's like a lot. Like, and was it always happening? It was never documented. We don't know, right? I mean,
Right. I
I have a
remember.
friend that it happened to. I do have a friend that it happened to. He never told anybody, but it did.
Mhm.
It
I
didn't
was a
affect him
kid when Mary
negatively.
Kay
No,
Letourneau, that whole thing happened.
yeah.
Oh my God, that was wild. But now it's like, yeah, it seems like it's all the
But
time
like
now.
it didn't affect my friend. He was like the stud athlete of the school, and he was 17. She was like 35.
That's so
But
bad.
he never. I mean, he just kept it. He didn't tell anybody. He kept it to himself. So,
Hmm.
and did it affect him? No, it didn't like.
I bet it did. I bet it did in some way that,
Boy, it
yeah,
was his love
I
of his.
can't see how he could go unscathed.
He was like athlete, dude. He didn't give it down.
Doesn't matter. It's a 17-year-old. That's a kid.
I, James is like, I went back to high school.
Stop it. Let's see. All right, I think we answered everything. So thank you guys for all of your questions for tonight. Again, I know when I posted the Ask Me Anything event, then I already had some questions that was compiled, and then you all sent in some more, and then you guys had a ton in the chat tonight. So thank you. That is awesome. And yeah, I like doing these because it's kind of more laid back. Let's talk about, the cases at hand, and yeah, what you guys, whatever you want to know, we're here to discuss. So again, there won't be a true crime and chill later this week, but we will talk about it next week. And by then, Beckham, there should be a lot more in
Oh,
the Karen
like,
Reed
yeah,
case.
and as far as Karen Reed, in 2 weeks' time, I mean, who knows? I mean, it could be a bombshell. We don't ever know. It could be a bombshell. It could be Jackson irritates somebody and wrong, and they start crying on the stand. I mean, dude.
He's a pit bull.
It's gonna be Friday, right? The Fridays, yeah. Jackson's gonna be all. It's gonna be all about Jackson.
Oh yeah, because now he's going to get his defense witnesses.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly.
I don't see the prosecutors being as intense on cross as Jackson and Yannetti have been.
Right. Yeah. It's going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be entertaining. That's to say the least. By the time we come back, I think though something will happen in the Karen Reed case that's just going to be like, whoa.
Yeah. I love how you've gotten interested in this.
This is funny.
I think it started with Bukkake. And then
it just sounds funny. Trooper Proctor and Bukkake. It just sounds funny. God. If his name wasn't, there's just something about that name. Like it just sounds funny to me. Has a
Trooper Proctor, I'm sure, will not be Trooper Proctor for much longer.
Probably not, because careers are on the line in this case, and not just his. A couple more other people's careers on the line.
Quite a few people. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Ask Me Anything True Crime Edition. We will see you next week. Until then, remember, we don't live in darkness. Darkness lives in us. Bye, everyone.